Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. This is my first talk, so forgive me if my English is not that good. Well, my name is Maximiliano, and I'm gonna tell you. My talk is the Invisible Hand, guiding players in Tormented Souls. So first, most of you probably don't know me. I'm the co-founder of a company called Abstract Digital. We're based in Chile, and I have over 7 years of programming and developing experience in the industry. I started like a programmer, but as you know, small teams, you have to start doing a little from here, a little from there, so you start wearing many hats. So in this particular case, I had to take care of the programming, also a little of the cinematography and the cinematics, and also I helped as a designer assistant for the puzzles and the flow in general. And currently, I'm a director at an unannounced game. So if you don't know it, our game was, and the game that I'm going to talk is Tormented Souls. It's a classic survival horror game, much like the ones you probably know from the 90s, like Resident Evil or Silent Hill. Actually, it's like a mashup of those two games. It's heavily focused on puzzles. It has a little combat, but it goes like 80% versus 20% of combat, the puzzles part. And a couple of interesting things is we were just less than 20 people that did it, but none of those professionals were actually designers, like by profession. But as most of games, we are autodidacts, so we learn over the job. So one thing I think it's important to understand the problem that we had is that for the game, the directors they wanted to relive the full experience of the 90s game. So it meant having super hard puzzles. What does this mean is like up to the point that you were needed to have a notebook and write everything that you were seeing in the game or taking notes because they demanded you to think and see what you were actually playing, not doing like just by the motions. No user map, no obvious explanation for any actions. So as I said before, the player should think. And the player should examine carefully every item or every note that the game gives you. So the puzzle that I want to show you, it's the very first puzzle. I don't know if we can turn off the lights maybe a little, or turn up the bright. Sorry, thank you. Turn up the brightness of the screen maybe a little, or turn down the lights. It's a very dark game, so if you can see, if you can see a little here, this is the first part of the game. We have a bathroom where you are trapped. So the idea here is that you have to find a node, and using the node, you have to open this lock on the bathroom locker. And you got an item there, and then you escape through the bathroom door. So we started testing the game early, and this test showed that the player could be stuck on this first section up to 40 minutes, even though we, the developers, could pass it like under 2 minutes. It was a huge difference. So this feedback told us that the player didn't know actually what elements in the environment were interactable, and the new players kept missing nested interactions. For example, if you started interacting with something, the camera does a zoom, and you have new interactions where the player didn't knew what to do. And there was few or no feedback for this, so the player could know that these interactions could be done. And obviously this could give us many risks. The players not learning the approach for the next puzzles would be a huge disadvantage, and maybe he or she will drop the game after a few minutes. Also dropping the game out of frustration, even not having the possibility of escaping the room, which is like 10 minutes of a 9-hour game. And the mouth-to-mouth, obviously, will impact the sales of the game when it was released, saying it was too difficult, and the players wouldn't want to play the game because an idea before playing the game that they will be frustrated. So, how did we solve this problem? This is an image of the first section, the one that I showed you before, and we managed to transform it in this other version that I don't know if you can tell me how well you see these images. Yeah?
Well.
Yeah, well. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to explain some of the changes that we did, that why the second image, although it looks like it's really similar to the first one, it made a huge impact on the response of the gamers. So lighting was one of the first things that came to mind, where we started placing strategically we started placing strategically the lights around the scenery. So on the first image, you can see that the candles are on the left side of the screen, helping nothing to guide the player. So we needed the player to know that the locker at the end of the room was interactable. So we put the lights near to there, so the player could know first that that there was something there, because before was a little too black. So it guided the players so they could interact and get the book, which contained the combination of the locker. So as I say, the lights over there. And in the second part, we also moved the lights a little, not the ones of the left, because it already showed a message for the player that will help them later. But on the right side, we have a locker that it's kind of invisible on the first image and was a huge part of the puzzle. So we moved the lights just a little over the sink, so the player could know that that part was a little more important. So that was one of the first changes. A second step was adding movement to the environment. So the first time, this was the interaction that you could see in the stage, that nothing was attracting the attention of the player. But for the second step, I don't know if you will be able to see here, just a little shine and bigger resolutions. It's more clearer. I'm gonna try to make this full screen. No, sorry, I can't. But trust me, there's a shine bright here. Just there. And the lights also, the movement of the candles in the fire. Although it's real subtle, it helps to guide the view, the view of the player to the certain areas that we wanted he or she to look. So these chains will be more, you could see them better here. So this is an old version where, as you can see, nobody stands up from this locker. And one of the changes that we did was a little shining, because in this section you could click on those knobs from the locker, or you can click on the locker itself, the lock. Sorry, the lock obviously was the most prominent element that the players interacted, and most of the time they missed the left side of this locker, and the left side was really important because it had a watch that allowed the player to crack the mystery of the combination of the lock. You needed a clue that you get on here. Here you get the clue. The clue said, my twins were born at certain hour, and looking at the clock, you will know what hour. So using this chain, we could make sure that the player was going to open that important part of the puzzle. And another big change here was to change the knobs, because as you saw before, the knobs were merged with the environment. There was no indication that the player could interact with them, so we gave them a distinctive look, so it was a lot more obvious that they could make that they could interact with them. And of course, there were some animations where the player, for example, here's the door when you already have the item that will help you escape. So at the beginning, the lock didn't give you any feedback if you were using it correctly or not, because these items, some of them had states, so the range could be totally closed, a little open, or wide open. And if you didn't change it to have the correct state, the puzzle wouldn't be complete. So getting animations for every state or every solution that the player could try was also really important. So it may look that first, sorry. Thanks to these alterations to the game, the player understood better how they could interact with the environment. At the beginning, they wandering around, they clicked everywhere, they didn't know exactly what to do. They were like blindly trying to make them try to crack the puzzle by force. And one of the things that we didn't want was to exactly that, to force your way out, but we needed you to think, because if you just paid a little more attention, will be really easy to spot the clues and solve the game. So with these changes, the movement, the lighting, the changes in the lighting, the changes in the knobs and the animations, they managed to understand really better what they needed to do. So the interactions became notably faster. At the beginning of the scene, there was like a cinematic or two cinematics, but and that was like unskippable time. But then they went around. When they played, they went around for a few minutes without doing nothing. But with these changes, they started going directly to where we needed them to go. So the escape bathroom that at first used to be a 40 minutes walk for the players, although it was in a pretty confined space, we're down to an average of 10 minutes. So it was a huge relief for us as developers because it was a really important part of the game, and we really needed the players to understand that how they needed to play the game. So some takeaways from this experience was to suggest to test your game really early and play not just as the people who knows to play your game, but as people outside your objective public, because those people are probably the ones that will give you the best feedback. Also, not play as a developer, because as a developer you know every step of the game, and you will miss obvious things that other people don't see, even if they are right in front of them. So don't necessarily look for bugs, because this puzzle, at the state that I show you, which was, I don't know, 6 or 7 months before launch, it was working well. It didn't have any major bugs, but the problem was another one. The problem was that the experience wasn't the best for the players. So as I show you, we didn't make any major changes, just reposition some stuff, making a little tweak, making a little adding some movement to the scene to guide to our players. So as I've said before, movement and highlights are huge savers, are the easiest way to draw attention, but you should also focus on the little things and ask the player, what are you seeing, what aren't you seeing, because why do you take this option, because a lot of time we're too close to the problem to see it correctly. And that's it. It went a little fast, sorry. If you have any questions, I'm open to them. And if you want to know a little more about me or my company, you can find us on those links. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I just have one question. You mentioned in the beginning that you didn't have any designers on the team.
Uh-huh.
Would you say that if you had a designer, it would have helped in anticipating these issues, or
probably we
fixed it earlier?
Yeah, sorry. Probably we will have noticed them before, because we never stop learning. So I personally liked looking designer videos about how to guide the player, how to make the players notice stuff, and up to this point was when I gained a little more knowledge of how to do those things. And yeah, it took just a couple of days to do these changes that were huge changes in the game. So I think if before we had a designer that how already know that stuff, it could have saved us a little more time.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Please tell me, how did you pick the focus group which were not playing your game, and of what age were they, and the times you've presented, were they for a particular group? Of what age? Was the times different for different age groups, for example?
Yeah. We focus on players because we're the testers that we were able to get around, I think, 20 to 30 years old. They were some of them were knew how to play this kind of game, but others were maybe old, but they didn't play these games. They came from another type of games. So as I said before, we managed to get players from different backgrounds, not only the objective public that we wanted, because obviously they know already how to play these games, and it's a little more easier for them to solve these kind of puzzles.
And was that offline tests, or it was remote tests and you were just measuring some metrics?
Sorry, again?
Was that offline test, or it was remote test and you were measuring the metrics from the players?
No, we had our testers were more like the old way. They played the game and they did a report. This was, I think, before the pandemic, so we tested with them, watching how they play. Sometimes and other times were remotely. We were we had like a hybrid way to test the game.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No, if other questions? Okay, thank you very much for hearing me. Happy to be here.